All right, we're recording.
Sweet.
Hi, Holly. How are
Hi.
you?
Good.
It's so nice to see a familiar face.
Albeit virtually.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought it would be super cool, always to do a podcast,
Hmm.
and why not now? There's never a good time to do any of the things that we ever really want to do, so I'm just jumping up
Hmm.
from here. Um,
Yeah. Because you don't have enough other things to do.
because I haven't been working like crazy and trying to get like schoolwork done and right.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah. And so now's the best time. I have a lot of free time on my hands, but
Totally.
I've got this running notepad of like random things to do and like thoughts that come to my mind and
Okay.
really great like quotes that I might not ever look at ever again, but it kind of keeps me busy. So, um,
Yeah.
you were always one of the first people I thought about ever having a podcast with because I learned about you through a podcast. I think 2 years ago, maybe. I can't even remember the podcast. Um,
We've only been on two. So,
okay, well, so 50-50 shot. It was one of the two, and it was just awesome. And I'm so glad that I reached out to you through Instagram and met you.
yeah, me too.
Here we are. Here we are.
Yeah.
So I know you and I talked offline about Today Matters,
Yes.
and I think now is such an important time to maybe better mobilize what Today Matters means and how we can get people to embrace Today Matters and share that. So I really would love to talk about that and what your thoughts are and how we can really use a great simple phrase, Today Matters, during this pandemic when we're homebound and struggling both personally and professionally, and then
Hmm.
bringing your work home. So yeah, I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on that.
Yeah. With all the, quite the lead in question, by the way, with all of the rapid change that all of us are experiencing, in all different facets of life, just life in general, I think Today Matters really is just a simple phrase, but powerful phrase that can give people a little sense of power and a little sense of control in a time that we feel like we have no control. And truthfully, like when it comes to a pandemic situation with a virus, how much control do we
Sure.
have? So to have a little mantra, or a statement that can center you, bring you to the moment, bring you to your day, bring you to your awareness. And if you can feel empowered enough to be like, yes, today does matter. To me, it feels like, what can I control? What matters to me? I'm going to focus my time and attention there, because during this particular time, I mean, of course, I know we both know that Today Matters is very powerful throughout many moments of life, but definitely right now, if people can really focus on their priorities. And right now, I feel like people are getting really face to face, right, with what are their priorities. Work has changed. Family relationships and dynamics are probably have changed and probably are changing as people are spending, family units are spending more time together than they ever have before.
Sure.
People might have more free time. So, addictions or maladaptive coping behaviors might increase.
Right.
And we're left with kind of more time with ourselves and less time socially connecting, physically connecting. So again, I think it really is highlighting to people this time, this opportunity on their priorities. What truly matters? Like if we're facing mortality or the idea of death,
Right.
for ourselves or maybe people that we care about, how can we make the most out of today, the most out of this moment? And that's why I think Today Matters is like very powerful and can be powerful right now.
So you mentioned something about family dynamics changing. So it's what's interesting is it's changing in that some families are more together all the time.
Mhm.
And then there are other families who might have been a tighter unit that live in separate households that are
Mhm.
now almost worlds apart, and they could be 3 miles down the road. So there's this really interesting, dynamic too of we have all this really great technology, we can connect, but you're right, that whole physicality and being in someone's physical space is lacking now.
Mhm.
And I think it's the possibility exists for a lot more people to retreat, even though have seemed to be up until these moments been more reliant on technology. We've had
Right.
our faces in our phones. We're Netflixing something. We're multitasking. I know you and I have talked a little bit about multitasking before. It's not a real
Mhm.
thing.
Multitasking. Yeah.
Yes, multitasking. Yes. No, I do a lot of things really well. You don't.
Mhm. Yeah, no, you don't.
You suck at them all. And so how would you leverage, a message or a mission like today matters for, those groups of people who are almost retreating? Like they might thrive in that extrovert type social environment, and now it's, an aspect of it or a channel of it has been taken away. And I think
Yeah.
some people are starting to retreat.
For sure. So I'm going to answer that question in two parts that really popped to my mind. One is personal, anecdotal. So this has been a really interesting opportunity for me because a year ago today, I was doing this by choice. And by this, I mean withdrawing, I mean isolating.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in public, I didn't want to be seen. Um, I wanted to disappear. And I was in a very different mental space this time a year ago, which is, as we've discussed, really the origins of Today Matters, that dark time in my life. And now I'm, for totally different circumstances, I'm kind of pulled back into the same space
Yeah.
with the same parameters, but my mindset's totally different. Now, to be frank, I'm isolated and I'm physically isolated. I'm kind of withdrawn as we all are, but I don't want to kill myself. But I don't have this heaviness of depression. Now I can actually think more clearly.
Yeah.
And I empathize with a lot of people that might be feeling the weight, the heaviness of isolation, of the unknown, of uncertainty, of disconnection. And maybe they've never experienced it with this magnitude before. And it's hard. It can make a, mentally healthy person feel dis-ease for sure, because we are connected social beings, biologically. So I think the second part of this, that's the first part that I can totally identify. And I think people are probably grasping and wrestling with a lot of parts of their personality, or just life that they haven't experienced before, their mental state, their thoughts, their feelings about this time. The second part is a skill that I've learned through my dialectical behavioral therapy practice, and that is radical acceptance.
Yeah.
And this skill is very difficult, because it sounds like the goal is to radically accept the moment. And although that is true, it also doesn't mean that you can't also change the next moment. So to radically accept, yes, this happened. This happened out of my control. I liked my day to day life and my relationships as they were now. And now I don't. Now things have changed out of my control. Being factual, knowing what the facts are, also knowing how you're here and now is right now, but also that it's going to change. Realistically, I'm not an MD, I'm not a scientist in this space, but from everything that I've read, how our day-to-day life as it is now will change. So that's radically
Absolutely.
accepting that
Yes.
acknowledgement. Um, it's also knowing that however you're coping now, you're doing the best you can, and you can also probably cope better. So if you're finding yourself withdrawing because you're an extroverted person naturally, or maybe your daily task, your jobs before COVID-19 um, allowed you the pleasure to interact with a lot of people, um, cope as best as you can now. I believe that everyone is doing the best they can in the moment, but also acknowledge that you can do better. So, you might need to take it upon yourself to schedule a Zoom call,
Yeah,
um, reach out to a friend, make the phone make a phone call. It doesn't always have to be like using the full extent of technology.
sure.
And if you reach out to somebody and they don't answer, call someone else, and then call someone else. It doesn't matter if you haven't talked to them in a long time. But choosing to radically accept, I think it's freeing, because again, that's allowing you to empower yourself in a moment that feels like you have no control. And I think that radical acceptance, although like I said, I truly believe that it's difficult, is a superpower. I really do.
So I like how you said that everyone's doing their best. And I've, said this, I read about it. I've said it before. It's something that I need to remind myself of, because, depending on what situation I'm in, I might
Hmm.
think, well, yeah, I'm doing my best. But I know Susie Q next to me, her work sucks. She's not doing her best.
Hmm.
But for her, she is doing her best.
Right.
So I had a really great FaceTime therapy session last night,
Yeah.
which was really awesome. And I was talking to my therapist about this, and she said, "Let me tell you how I explain, or I digest doing their best. Everybody's dealt a different hand. It's really how you work the cards." And I thought that was super cool. So,
Hmm.
I could have, on the surface, a seemingly crummy hand, but I might be savvy enough to use my resources in this situation to have those, coping mechanisms and those healthy outlets that I might win, the game altogether.
Hmm.
So I think that's, really important. And I think that something as simple as pick up the phone and call, um, sometimes doesn't seem so simple when you're in those types of moments. So yeah, I can certainly see both sides of that.
Yeah, and I get that that's hard, right? Like, it sounds
Yeah,
simple. Well, pick up the phone and call someone, but the amount of fear and anxiety and emotions that prevent you from engaging in that behavior, from physically picking up the phone and calling somebody, that's where I think the radical acceptance can really be handy, because it's a moment of clarity, of awareness. Be like, hey, I'm coping the best I can, but I need to cope better. I want to cope better. This is how I'm going to do it. It's
yeah,
not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be, especially in this time. I mean, frankly, all of this is uncomfortable, but that's a part of the process. And the more often we confront that discomfort, the more we learn what works for us, what coping mechanisms work best for us, what are the skills or behaviors that we need to engage in, so that we can, still have a meaningful life, still feel the way we want to feel, and move forward like, life before.
yeah. So I have so many things to comment on and ask, but I know I posted something a while ago that this is what we've been training for.
Hmm.
And it seems to have been a weird comment, I think, for some people to see coming
Yeah.
from me. But
Hmm.
I know, as I think recent as maybe today or yesterday, Des Linden tweeted something regarding, well, what are you training for? I'm training for life. And
Hmm.
it can't be any more appropriate than it is today in these situations. So I feel like maybe I'm just biased that endurance
I just had a
athletes.
Des Linden fangirl reaction because
Oh,
I was like,
I
oh.
love her, right? I think she's a super person.
Hmm.
She really is. And I feel that if you're, an endurance athlete, or you have been able to push yourself physically, and or you have overcome some serious mental hurdles regardless of your situation, you're going to get something like that. You're going to understand it. It's easily
Mhm.
digestible for you. So how do you think that your endurance training has prepared you for this type of situation? I think it's that 10% of super hard, but that's where the breakthrough is. Like how are you applying that to the current situation?
Good question. The one thing that's been the most helpful for me recently, and this is literally something I tell myself, um, I'm often a motivated person. I don't often need to will myself to do things. Um, for example, let's make it and put it in terms that anybody can identify with: taking a shower,
Sure.
writing emails, showing up for work, getting some physical exercise in, getting outside of the house. I often don't need to force myself to do those things. You can call it motivation, but that's just something I do as part of my day. Lately, with all of the magnitude and the frequency of uncomfortable emotions that I've been feeling, that we've been feeling collectively, I've returned back to a mantra of discipline over motivation. When I reflect back with a clear mind on what I need to do, behaviors that I need to take in order to feel how I want to feel in the moment for the day, um, for me right now, that's discipline over motivation. I don't feel like I want to do anything, but I need to.
For sure.
And that has been really helpful. And it's not like I'm nailing this out of the park. And like I tell myself that when I wake up, like this is something that I need to tell myself multiple times throughout the day. And last week, I wasn't doing this effectively, and I also wasn't feeling the way that I wanted to feel. This week, I'm doing better, and that's meaningful for me. So discipline over motivation for sure.
I'm definitely doing better, that's for sure. Today was a much
Good.
better day than yesterday.
Yeah. Good.
I had we're at work, we're completely disconnected physically, and we're relying heavily on all the technologies to stay connected, and I feel a little I feel like I have a barrier, or I should say a barrier I broke through. Yes, thank you. Cheers. I don't feel as held back or awkward in asking somebody that I might not have been an acquaintance with. They were just rather a peer. So how
Mhm.
are you really? um, so I did that through an instant message chat with one of my peers, and I know he's a runner, and I said, have you been able to get out for some runs? He's like, I haven't gone running in over 2 weeks.
Mhm.
He said, how about you? And I said, well, I run a daily mile. I'm over 450 days, I think. I am still keeping up with my daily mile. Yesterday I rode my bike for 10 miles. Not a big deal, but I've been
That's
making
awesome.
conscious efforts to I walk my dog every morning for, a mile and a half, and I make sure I step away even if I can hop on my bike for a half an hour.
Mhm.
I just need to keep moving. You know,
Mhm.
I don't know what your, race future looks like, but I had one marathon canceled. Another one I'm sure is right around the corner. I'm
Mhm.
really fine with it.
Mhm.
Um, there's a little bit of, sadness that not only is the event not happening, but the training that I wanted to continue at the pace that I was training at has kind of gone by the wayside just by the
Sure.
nature of, everything.
Mhm.
But I too have a very fiery internal motivation um, to just keep moving.
Mhm. Yeah, I think regarding like healthy behaviors, exercise, I believe that movement is medicine 100%. I think that physical health is a part of mental health. They are so totally intertwined,
Yeah.
and I don't. have data that I can extrapolate to show that clearly, but of course people kind of understand this intuitively. And I think we're going to see a lot of interesting results, shall I say, in August, September, October,
Yeah.
perhaps timeframe, about how people managed their relationship with movement during this time. Just as it is a discipline to get out of bed, have some structure, walk your dog, do your daily mile, because I know we've had conversations. You don't always want to do those things, but you do those things
Correct.
out of respect to yourself and the discipline. But if people don't have the discipline right now to athletes specifically to take some time, lose some fitness, let it go, they are going to peter out, burn out, injure themselves when the races actually do start coming back.
Sure.
And then it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
And they may not see it now, because it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. It feels good to be fit. It feels good to go fast. People like, working hard. Although I don't like saying that, because I don't know like what like run hard means, like run fast.
Yeah.
But anyways, and it's really uncomfortable to make changes. And our relationship with goals, with races, as athletes, this is how a form of self-expression, a sense of community.
Sure.
And it's a part of the process. It's a part of the sacrifice. And if people just, use this as a time to train incessantly and bury themselves in the ground because they don't understand that it's a coping mechanism that can have negative impacts,
yes,
then they are going to be paying for it twofold.
Right.
And I would just hate to see that for anybody. For me personally, in a way, I've been here before, again, like I was last year. I wasn't in a place to physically compete. I needed to fall back in love with what my body could do for me. And how sport, again, is that unconditional love. It lets me,
100%.
yes, as that tool to let me see what my body is capable of. And when I was going through so much hard work and feeling so uncomfortable, to have like even a minute or 5 minutes of something that made me feel good and strong, was really enough to carry me through to the next day. And that's why I think movement is such medicine, because those 60 minutes can literally carry you for another 20 hours. Like,
yes, exactly.
What else does that? So there's a power in that for sure. And this time might be a blessing for a lot of people, that now they have more time to actually get outside and feel their body do what our bodies are designed to do, which is to move.
Yeah.
And I hope that happens. I know that we've all seen explosion of fitness challenges. If I see another dry land swim video, scream. So
the first one was funny. Now I'm done. I'm done.
Right. Yeah. Like I know triathletes in this context are supposed to like try to find a way to keep the fitness up, but you know what? You're probably going to lose fitness.
Oh, absolutely.
And a whole bunch of other people. And I just really wish that somebody was more kind of gentle and we're like, hey, you know what? If you want to go throw some weights around to get your aggression out, that's cool. And if you also want to sit on the couch and do nothing, that is also okay.
Yeah.
And I wish that more of like the elite athletes, professional athletes, could kind of at least give a little snapshot into that. Like, we are not robots.
Right.
We are human beings. And it's okay to have feelings in a very unique, different time. And we can all cope the best that we can. And that can look very different. And I just think that people posting, oh, you can do this, fitness challenges, XYZ, that's all fine and well. But to some audiences, they can take it can be a detriment, right? So like, know how to filter your content. If it's making you feel more shitty, if you're sitting on the couch being like, oh, I should be doing this, they're doing that. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. What the DBT practice likes to call shooting all over yourself.
Yes.
then stop it. Like, have enough awareness to know it's not beneficial, and try to put some space between it, because again, like, there's no need for us to be even harder on ourselves during this time.
Yeah, I agree. So I know that from a sports psychology standpoint, I'm on a list serve that is just has just exploded with
Mm.
all of these questions and suggestions and articles and what do you think about this? Because virtually, so many sports seasons have been canceled, and everything from elementary, like adolescent type sports, to professional level seasons are kind of donezo. And
Hmm.
what type of mental health impact that really has through those respective sports and communities. And if you look at individuals, those who are looking to a senior level athlete looking to get into a college on a scholarship, well, I have no
Hmm.
season to play now, how can I prove myself? So there's those types of conversations. From a professional perspective, the Olympics have now been postponed, which is a BFD. Um,
Yes.
like I kind of thought it was coming, but I still was just flabbergasted when I saw that post. And um, how how does that impact from your perspective, a professional athlete knowing at least one day I'm going to compete on the world stage, but it's actually going to be postponed until the next year. So you have a little extra time to either get your shit together, fine tune your craft, or you have a little bit more, leeway. Like, what do you think that does from a motivation standpoint?
I mean, I see it as a loss. Like, I truly think that there maybe it's totally right, reasonable, not that it should happen, but like a grieving process
Sure.
to
Yeah.
like
Okay.
be angry. Like, that is a lost opportunity. It's not a missed opportunity. It's going to happen in the future. But like any sporting event, especially the Olympics, because it happens only once every 4 years, um, there's a lot that goes into it. Those level of athletes are all in, which I totally respect. And the one thing that I think after the grieving has occurred, which again I think is healthy but needs to be kind of controlled, is nothing is predictable. We don't know the future. So even if you were a high school track athlete and you had a very important quad A meet coming up that could really hinge your future, you don't know how you're going to perform. You don't know who else is going to show up. You
Sure.
don't know if something could happen on the course. You don't know what the weather's going to be like that day.
All the
Um,
uncontrollables.
all the uncontrollables that are so easy to forget
Yeah.
when we think about how we want to perform in the future. And again, with the Olympics, again, I'm not, making them identical, because they're not. The Olympics, again, occurs once every 4 years, but still, you know, in those races at that level on that stage, you still have so many variables that you can't control. So again, I think it kind of can give an athlete a sense of empowerment, bring that power, that sense of control back to them, if they recognize that all they have is themselves, and what can they do to keep moving forward, making progress. Does that mean stepping back now, or maybe having like an off season 2.0, or resting, grieving that you're going to lose that fitness, but understanding why,
Sure.
I think is really important. A lot of athletes, especially elite athletes, I think are very intellectual, very cerebral. So I think if anybody has a coach, if they understand their plan, if they understand the why, the reasoning behind it, I think they're going to feel a little bit more settled, at least. And I think that might be the best case scenario moving forward.
Yeah. No, I that makes sense and I can appreciate it. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of, mental tools of the trade, if you will, that they can, certainly tap into. I know, at the elite level, if they're not already practicing it, they've, got a coach who's going to help kind of enforce that, or I should say, suggest it and help fine tune it. Like
Hmm.
using imagery is, such a powerful tool that,
Hmm.
you can carry with you wherever you go.
Yep.
No equipment necessary. It's just right upstairs. I think, and I'm hopeful too that all the positivity that I've been able to see in sports psychology and that level of between the ears performance, we can actually bring to our younger athletes to help get them through this,
Hmm.
looking towards the future, and then those are really great tools that they can just translate to the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, if athletes realize, and frankly, everybody, if they realize that this is an opportunity, like we're in an opportunity when we encounter very difficult, painful experiences, we can learn from them, we can grow from them. And we respond to them in different ways, but I truly think that it does make us stronger. I mean, especially when it comes to performance, at a certain level, it's a lot mental. Your mental game has a lot to do with your performance, or at least how you're going to relate to your performance,
Sure. Yeah.
which is just as important. And this is the perfect time to really get your mind right. And if it's not right, it's the perfect time to practice, to learn some skills, reach out for help, because I like this is never going to go away,
Yeah.
right? Like our bodies will change. We might get injured. I hope not. People, you're going to get older. That is a fact we can all
Sure.
accept. But this upstairs, the more we fine tune this and make this as strong as possible, um, this will stick around for quite a while, hopefully.
Yes, I
Mhm.
agree. So, what is your hopeful dream or vision for Today Matters and these cards? Tell me about the cards. I mean, I know about the
Um,
cards, but
yeah, yes, you do.
I love the
Um,
cards. I love
thank
them.
you. I do too. I really, I am not a marketing genius. I really have always felt as though I'm an idea generator. That only gets you so far. I understand my limitations and shortcomings. I would really like to see the cards, um, socially, through social media, now even more than ever. I'm only one person in Macungie, Pennsylvania. You're here right with me.
Sure.
So I'd really like to try to get somebody with a larger audience and a larger lens to help share the movement, share the cards. Um, that's kind of the closest thing in my mind. Um, but other than that, I mean, it's engaging in these conversations with people. If you really stop and ask somebody, like, what does it mean when you hear Today Matters? I think it's such an interesting and awesome conversation starter, and really gives you a insight into how that person is, maybe what they've been through. And yes, I'm just gonna stop
So,
there.
thank you. So
Yeah.
I'll ask you, but first I wanna answer my own question. So,
Yes.
the question that I'm asking is, what is the one so far compelling story that you've had regarding the cards? I will say that I had a friend reach out to me, whom I hadn't spoken with in a number of years. Um, she saw the card on social media. She reached out. She wanted her card, her set of five, and she texted me and said, "I need someone to talk to." So I called her right away, and we were on the phone for about an hour or so. And she was just so fearful to call anybody, and I, we wound up, kind of, rekindling, and I was able to kind of help direct her to a couple different, really helpful resources. So I've been checking in with her every now and again, but virtually every person that reaches out to me and says, I would like some cards, one of their, follow-up statements is, this was something I really needed to hear today. And that to
Mm-hmm.
me was just, it made it all worth it.
Yeah, I love that.
So what was yours?
I have another question for you.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I want to hear what you have, where your mind is going with the Today Matters movement. But I'll
Yeah.
answer your question first.
Okay.
So, gosh, I've had two kind of what I would call like group presentation
Yes.
opportunities.
Yes. Cool.
Um, but one was, gosh, it's really hard to pick. My friend helped me celebrate my birthday, and he's a good buddy of mine, and we ride bikes together. And he's somebody that I clicked with instantly. I feel like he's a brother, and I was able to confide in him when I was really, really down, and he helped me. And so he got this cake with Today Matters on it for my
Oh,
birthday, and
yes.
I was
That's
like, oh,
so
that's so great.
cool.
And that he had a gathering of probably about 20 people over at his house, and his wife said, would I like to say something? And I was like, sure. So kind of like off the cuff, right? And I just said, hey, these cards, Today Matters, was really born from my rock bottom when a year ago from today I was standing on a railroad track and I didn't want to be here anymore, and I had to make a change. And through that process and healing my trauma and my past, I was able to learn that today does matter, and how sometimes just those two words can be enough to keep you here, can change somebody's moment, somebody's day, and that it can mean so many different things to so many different people, and along those lines. And like I said, it's powerful when you can feel people listening to you
Yes.
too,
Yes.
and it's special. I would say it's quite an honor when you are compelling attention from others. And showed the cards, said, here's a box, grab some. And one by one, people came up to me and they were like, I was really low, a couple years ago, shared a personal story. My son's been really struggling. I need to share these with him. Thank you so much. Tears in their eyes.
Yes.
I work with students. This is a crisis. Um, Please, can I take a lot to give out to my students? But the beauty of it is that I can put myself on a stage of vulnerability, and I am met with equal openness and vulnerability from others. So in my experience, sharing these cards have created such an amazing bridge for connection, for identification, for not feeling alone. Sometimes it feels really good, even if you're healed from a traumatic past, sometimes it feels really good just to share it, just so that somebody
Yes. Yes.
knows you more, not because you're struggling or any other reason, that you want the people around you to know you more.
Yeah.
And sometimes those conversations are really hard because they're difficult topics. We have a lot of shame and resentment and guilt around, you know, bad feelings, right?
Yeah.
Bad decisions, whatever they may be. And uh, that has been probably the most rewarding thing for me, is that it's created such an easy, powerful, quick connection with others. And that I really cherish.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love how you say vulnerability. That's my word for 2020. And so, I swear I have like Brene Brown in my back pocket. I love her. Yeah. So for me, I can, relate to a lot of those stories, and people have, whether it's on the phone or have come up to me, there are like those genuine like tears of vulnerability and hurt and pain, but also like there's hope in those eyes
Mm-hmm.
that somebody gets me, and or I'm not alone, and or my God, these two words with that hard period at the end of the S, holy cow, like it's just this a really great combination of, I guess, hope, really. Um,
Totally.
yeah, and I agree with the storytelling. I mean, this is my year. It's coming out. I'm not sure when. It's on the tip of my tongue, but for me, I want people to know that there's always another way. There's never a dead end. It can look that way, and
Hmm.
and but but I'm telling you, because I'm here, because you're here, there is a way through that.
Hmm.
You just sometimes need to work the deck a little bit.
Totally.
There are people that can help you do that. So yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so for me, I think I would love to see, just today matters everywhere, and everywhere to me is all in the right hands. And I think that they're landing in those hands, like seeing the Instagram posts and hearing people and somebody texting me on the side, like it's getting there. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, we just need to figure out that whole big push. I think it is powerful. I agree.
Yeah, and I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
a little
it's
I'm a little antsy.
Oh yeah, no, me too. And I'm just, again, like I've mentioned to you, like I want that maybe TM on the back. But yeah, no, this is good, and I think that this is a great opportunity, the Today Matters cards, for you to work that vulnerable stage a little bit.
Yeah.
Lean it, as Brene Brown would say, lean into that vulnerability.
Yeah, I love it. Well,
Hmm.
I'm ready to rumble too. Like
Yeah,
Renee wants me to get all suited up to rumble. I'm ready. I'm gonna be in
yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that, it's maybe not as hard or as difficult as maybe it may seem. I think that, from my own experience with the Today Matters cards, like it's amazing what you can get from just asking. Um, I've kind of always, I have a habit of putting other people on a pedestal for no good reason.
Yeah.
And not always for no good reason, but having that pedestal create that space between me and the pedestal be fear, and not feeling like my voice is good enough or meaningful enough, or powerful enough, and that I'm just adding noise. But I'm trying to make that shut the fuck up and move, just move towards things. Through a healing practice, you get to be okay with fear, and fear pops up all the time. And that's okay. Fear can be there and you can still move forward.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this is a really great opportunity for us both. Yeah. Cause this is us.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really special.
Yes. Fucking A. I agree.
Hmm. My
So
my therapist actually said that he goes out every couple of days and puts out, or whenever he thinks about it, goes out and puts a stack of cards at the front desk. He says they're always gone, and
yes.
that him and his staff got a note written on the back thanking the entire staff for their practice.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and so I guess I'll put a plug out there. So I've had this thought in my mind of like, oh, you know what, I should really send cards to X people. And one of the women that I thought of was Lauren Fleshman. And
Hmm.
I had an opportunity to take like one of her classes at like a Wazelle camp, and it was just a super great experience. I think she's a
Yeah,
wonderful person. I think she does a lot of great things for women and girls in sport, and she has
she does.
a phenomenal voice and has a
Hmm.
really great platform.
Yes, she
Um,
does.
and I thought, well, also, fuck it. I wrote this like really nice letter, and I threw like, I don't know, however many cards in there, just saying, I think that this is,
Yes.
really awesome if you take the opportunity to, hand them out to to Jesse, hand them out to, your staff. If you can post them in the community, I feel like now is as more important of a time than ever to get the cards out, get the word out, let people know that they matter, that their time matters, and that they're important.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Gosh, if there's some way we could get some enhanced for medical workers right now.
I
I
know.
don't know how that would happen. Like, can you mail a package to, like, how does that work? You can't, like, right now is not the time to, like, walk in, right? And be like,
Nope, not
hey,
at all. No, not at all.
these are like,
Um,
this is a memento or a token of appreciation. I don't know how that would work.
I'm gonna see what I can do. I mean, I might know some people in a hospital network. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Winky, winky. Yeah. No,
That would be
that's
great,
actually
though.
a really great. That's a really great point. So yeah, I have some friends. I'll figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't have like I think I opened by saying, yeah, I mean, just let's just do stuff, and I've got all these really great ideas. Not a lot of time to plan, but I have all the time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a really good like closer question. What's a good closer question?
Um, what is the most, I don't know, gosh, if you could think of one lesson that you learned that really helped shape who you are.
I love that.
It's a hard
Okay.
question.
Okay. So you just asked yourself that question. Wow.
I keep coming back to hard work and self-love. And maybe that's because self-love for me is hard work, but um yeah, just learning over time that you have to stand up for yourself, you have to love yourself, and you got to work hard. I think those, if you have a good grasp on those, and hashtag don't be an asshole, but if you can love yourself and work really hard, I think it's going to be okay.
I love hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I like getting dirty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That so that's where the magic happens. Um,
Totally.
yeah, and I mean, without struggle, there's no progress.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and this is the time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
This was so fun.
Yeah. I hope that got you what you wanted.
Yeah, but it did. But I really wanted to talk to you.
Right. Yeah. Two
I think
birds.
that too.
Yeah. So what is the name?
So great question. So I thought it would be really cool to say that. So I thought it was pretty funny how everyone was freaking out about all of the races being canceled, and oh my god, my life is over, and
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah. So I thought that the title could be "The Swim is Canceled," with the tagline of "How to Remain Engaged in Times of Adversity." I don't know if I like the word engaged, but
Keep your head. How to brainstorming session.
yeah. How to not be an asshole in times of adversity.
How to I almost want to say something like how to maintain momentum, or
Yeah,
like how to move towards your goals
yeah,
in times of uncertainty.
yeah.
Um,
I've always, so I've always said to my athletes, I've said, I will help you find the thickness in the silver lining. So I don't know if I say something like, finding the, thickness in the silver lining. I'm not really sure. So Um, but yeah, I'll figure it out. How are you
Yeah,
doing?
like maybe like the swim is canceled. Yeah, yeah, I'm thinking on that.
So
It's your thing though.
here's what's really awesome. What's awesome is I can do what I want and then change it.
Yep, 100%. Yes,
So how are you?
I'm good. This week is better.
I
So,
know. And it's Tuesday. Yeah.
right. Um, I mean, I have a lot of like fear and apprehension